Of RVP. So how many RVPs do we have in the room? A couple, I see. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So the rest of you, right, RVP is the place to be, and there are no part-time superstars, and there are no legendary builders that are in the base shop. They're not. So my goal tonight is to help you get a little uncomfortable where you are, and to get the spark of opportunity inside of you to go make happen what you need to have happen, okay? So RVP is the greatest contract in American business and the greatest wealth building contract on earth. And I'm going to prove that to you tonight. I'm going to prove that to you. And you don't understand this. Look at your neighbor and say, you don't understand. The reason you don't understand is because you're not an RVP. If you understood, you would have been one a long time ago. See, most people think, oh, I go from, you have a senior regional leader, I go from 80% to 110. That's awesome. But you don't even get the very beginning of what RVP really means for you and your family. Because if you did, you would have already been there, or if you are an RVP, you would already have RVPs, okay? So you don't really understand, and my talk tonight is to help you understand the power of what this business has to offer you, okay? So I'm going to give you some stats. The average RVP income is $158,000 a year. That's a Primerica stat. There are people who make less. I have some. There are people who make more. I have some. Okay? That is the average. That is the average income. Okay? So that's a reasonable income. But what you have to understand is the $158,000 a year income in Primerica as an RVP is unlike any other $158,000 you're going to get anywhere else on earth. Anywhere else on earth. Sometimes people say, well, I make that now. But you don't make it like this. Here's why. Number one is taxes. If you make $158,000 a year at a job, you're broke. The government is taking taxes out like crazy on you. Why? Because the way that the government is set up, if you're a W-2 employee, the cash flow looks like this. Company pays you, who gets the first piece? IRS, right? IRS takes off right off the top, no adjustments, right off the top, right? And then you have the money to live on. In a business, at 1099, what happens is the company pays you the money directly. What does the IRS get? Nothing so far, right? And then you can buy assets for your business. You can buy assets in your SEP IRA, right, to the tune of 3 to 4 times, depending on how much you earn, what you can put in a 401k. What's the limit on a 401k right now?
18.
It's about 19 grand. What can you put in your SEP IRA? 52,000 pre-tax. Twice as much, 2.5 times as much, 2.5 times as much as a self-employed business owner than you can put away as an employee, right off the top. Okay, so you can buy assets, you can have business expenses, you can invest in things that help your business grow, and do you pay taxes on those? No. You don't pay any taxes on those, right? Then you have expenses, and whatever you can't figure out how to spend, then you pay taxes. Then you pay taxes. When I made 100 grand in Primerica, I paid $4,000 in taxes that year. Why? Because I saved what I was contractually allowed to save, which at the time was $25,000, no taxes, and then I drove my car. But when you're in business, you get a tax deduction on your mileage. So if you drive 40,000 miles a year at 52.5 cents a mile, what's your deduction? 22,000. So 100 grand, 25 went into savings, 22,000 in just driving. So what's that leave me with? 53,000. Then I have giving. Then I have whatever other expenses, fast start schools, phone bill, all these sorts of things. You whittle it down, you got about 30 grand left on paper. They think you're in poverty. You made 100,000. You don't know anything. 158,000 in Primerica is way different than 158,000 a job. That's way number one. Way number two is at a job, you got to go up and go to work every day to get that 158. In Primerica as an RVP, depending on how your business is set up, there's a whole lot of guys ain't done a sale in 10 years making 158,000. So the income is delineated. So not only is it an easier income, a less time-consuming income, but you hold more of the income. Right? When you depreciate your car through mileage, did you actually spend that $22,000 you got as a deduction? No, you still got the money. But you didn't have to pay taxes on the money because you had depreciation against it. Why? Because you're self-employed instead of an employee. So the average income is $158,000, but this 158 is different from any other 158 on the planet Earth. Y'all understand that? Okay. So obviously some of you know this. Go ahead.
That's RVPs, SVPs, SNC, everybody.
Everybody. That's you below RVP as well. You're just not making no money, really, right? Okay. So everybody understands, okay, I go from 80% senior regional to 110% contract. Okay? So that's a jump. What is it? It's 30%. But that is very deceptive. Very deceptive, right? Because there's a handful of bonuses on top of that that you're not eligible to get below RVP. So at $10,000 in your base shop as an RVP, you're getting a 10% bonus on what? On just what you write or on the whole pile? The whole pile. So what did your contract really go to? 120. If you do a $20 by $20,000 base shop, you're getting another 10%. On what? On what you did or on the whole pile? 20% of 20 grand is how much money? 4,000 a month. That's 50,000 a year in bonuses you ain't even eligible for. You're an RL. How many of you did 20,000 as an RL? Raise your hand. Okay, one of you. You're close, right? And how much bonus they give you? As an RVP, they're giving you 4,000 a month on top of the contract increase. Okay. On top of that, there's securities bonuses, paid monthly. So not only do you have a bigger contract on securities, but if you're doing more than about 200,000 a month in securities volume, you're getting a bonus. My bonuses are about 2,500 a month in securities. I don't even try to do it, and they'll pay you a bonus on top of your contract. So it's not just the 110, it's the 110 and the bonuses, right? But you got to understand this. So if you're just talking life and you're fully bonusable as an RVP, that's a 50% pay increase on personal sales over the senior regional leader contract, right? So if you're making 1,000 on a sale, now you're going to make what? 1,500, and that's nice, but you don't begin to understand this, right? Because here's what most people forget. It's a 50% pay raise on your personal sales, but it's a 600% pay raise on your override. Let me explain that to you. If you're a senior regional leader and you got an RL under you doing 10,000 a month, what's your spread? 10%. If you go to RVP and you're at 130 and the regional leader's at 70 and they do 10,000 in sales, what you getting? 6,000. You got a 50% increase on your pen. You got a 600% increase in your ability to override. Do you understand that? Some of you got to let that sink in a little bit. So you had the same guy doing 10 grand in your base. You were a senior regional leader. You got 1,000 a month off that. You go to RVP, the same regional leader doing the same 10,000 in production. You're getting 6,000 a month off that. 600% increase on your ability to override people. Write this down. The base shop ain't the place to override. Stop and think about this. Let's say you had a regional leader doing 100,000 a month, and you were a senior regional leader. What would your override be? 10,000. 10% of 100,000. You're an RVP and you got an RL doing 100,000. What's your override? 60,000 a month. The bigger the volume gets, the more expansive the RVP contract really becomes. See, most people think, oh, I'm getting a 50% pay raise. No, you're not. If you're in the override business, you're getting a 600% pay raise. 600%, you all. How many of you ever had an override before? Somebody under you sold something. 600% more than you getting. Look at your neighbor. Say, they have paid you 6 times more as an RVP. 6 times. Not double. Not triple. Not quadruple. Not quintuple. Whatever the number for 6 is. Sextuple. They pay you sextuple times. Sextuple times is what they're going to give you on an override. On an override. RVP is the contract that Art Williams built this company on because he understood the power of overriding part-time people. Part-time people. You want to make $40,000 a month as an RVP? What do you need to do? Do you understand? Watch this. This is crazy. Let's say you had, this is a great example. Let's say you had 100 people wide, all direct to you. They were all senior regional leaders, 80% contract. You're an RVP. They each do one sale this month for $1,000. The highest paid guy on your team made what? $800, because he only did one sale. They were all direct to you. They ain't under each other, right? The highest paid guy on your team made $800 because they made one sale for $1,000. Their contract was 80%. You made what? 50,000 as an RVP. Your highest paid guy made 800. You made 50 grand. Because you did 100,000, your spread was 50% on that SRL. But you had 100 of them. See, the RVP contract was built for you to override part-time people. Stop and let that sink into you. Okay, you had 100 guys doing one sale, that pays you $50,000 a month as an RVP. Okay? So here's the picture of this. So here's your RVP contract at 130%. There's senior regional at 80. Okay, your override on that is 50%, right? The SRL override on the regional is 10%, right? So if you're this guy, you're getting 10, but if you're this guy, you're getting 60 on the same production. That's what we just talked about. 60 on the same production. This is the greatest personal contract and the greatest override contract in American business. The truth is, if I ask most of you, and I won't because I don't want to embarrass you, but if I asked you to explain to me what the benefit of RVP was, you tell me I get 50% more. Because you think like a personal salesperson instead of an overrider of people. Do you understand? There is a difference. So it is also the greatest ownership contract in American business. I'm going to explain this to you here. Okay? This is how our ownership program works. There are 3 levels of ownership that the company gives you. Okay? The $50,000 level, the $100,000 level, and the $300,000 level. Okay? So let's talk about $50,000. You're an RVP for how long?
10 years.
At least 10 years. You at least have your watch, your $50,000 watch. Okay? Minimum requirements in order to exercise. You must be above 25,000 still in cash flow. So you had to hit 50 grand how many times? Once. As long as you got 25,000 in annual cash flow, okay, at the time of death, upon death, the code number after adjustments is split. So what's the adjustments? They take out for your personal production because of you dead. That's not happening anymore. You didn't really own that. It's you, right? Okay. It's split 50-50 between the upline and the beneficiary for 5 years. So whatever you're making, let's say you were making $75,000 a year, okay, you die, Primerica's going to pay you $37.50 a year, $37,500, right? And the RVP upline gets half of it for 5 years. And then what happens? After 5 years, what happens? The code number rolls up to the upline. Okay? It rolls up to the upline. So you got people that don't have full ownership and they die. Eventually, all that business gets closer to you. That's a good thing for everybody. And most companies, when you die, what happens to your paycheck? It dies with you. If you just made $50,000, you had been an RVP for 10 years, they're going to pay your family for 5 years. Okay? They're going to pay your family for 5 years, and then the business moves up to your upline. Okay? Second option, $100,000 level. So you have the $100,000 ring, you've been an RVP for how long?
20 years.
At least 20 years. Or if you have 20 million in assets under management, okay, you must be above 50 grand a year in annual cash flow. Okay? And here's what happens. Upon exercising ownership, code number after adjustment is split 50-50 with upline for 10 years. You don't need to be dead. You just say, I want to be done. I want to sell it. Okay? So if you were making $150,000 a year, you're getting 75 a year for how long?
10 years.
10 years, and the upline's getting 75 a year, and then it all rolls up to the upline. So you want to get out of here, you want to retire, You get your 750 grand and they say, see you later, and it goes away, okay? So real ownership happens at 300,000. So you got the third diamond, 300,000 in annual income. There is, how long do you have to be an RVP? No tenure. You do it your second year as an RVP, you got full ownership. Okay, so you don't have to be here for a long time. You have to make it work, right? Okay. So you must be above 100 grand a year still in income when you want to exercise ownership. So you can sell it, transfer it, assign it to a DVP to run it. That would be like another agent, like you could assign me to run it and just give me a little bit of money to run and manage your business. Okay, the code number does not roll up to the upline. It's a perpetual code. So you'll receive money from that for how long? Forever. And when you die, your family will receive money for how long? Forever. Forever is a long time. There's a lot of future value in that. You all understand that? Okay, so as an RVP, you earn the right to own your life and to own the rights to the recurring income that you have built forever, as long as you get to 300,000 or for a shorter time if you don't put in the work to get there, right? So a real owner, full-blown ownership is where? 300,000. So you don't want to just go to RVP, you want to be a $300,000 RVP, right? Everybody understand that? Okay, again, think about like working for a company. They say, we're just going to pay you your money forever. And when you die, we're just going to keep paying your kids. And when they die, we're just going to keep paying their kids. Right? That's like the sweetest deal on the planet Earth. There's nothing like it. Let's go back here. So that creates what I believe is the most stable business on earth because of multiple layers of ownership. So I just recruited a guy today with one of my new guys. He's a real estate guy. Okay, and watch this. So if I'm a real estate broker and you're my agent, I'm getting a spread. The worst thing I could do is recruit somebody really great.
Yep.
Because pretty soon this guy says, I don't want to give that spread anymore. I want to be you. The problem is he can't be me. So he's got to leave me to go be the broker somewhere else. So I'm constantly training people who become my competition. So there's no stability in that business model. I die, sooner or later my best people are going to leave. Why? Because that's the business structure of a traditional business. They're going to leave and compete with me. You walk into 10 restaurants and ask the owner, what did you do before you owned this restaurant? He's going to tell you what? I worked in a restaurant. Okay? But because of our multiple layers of ownership, it creates a rock solid, stable business. For example, Assad is a full-blown owner. I'm a full-blown owner. Okay? So if I sell my business, what does it affect Assad? Not much. Because I'm not making $1 million. The team is making that $1 million. He doesn't care who that money goes to. His percentage off that volume remains what? Unchanged. So he can own, and I can own, and you can own, and your people can own, and that ownership can happen literally an unlimited amount of times. Do you understand that? Okay, so when you're talking about ownership, you would need, the way you own something is you have the rights to some sort of future value. But if that future value erodes because your best people leave because they can't be you, then what you own is not very valuable or very stable. Do you understand that? But when you can offer everyone, Matt, I can offer you the same exact ownership that I have. You can own, you can get to 300,000, you can have every right that I have, you can do whatever you want with the business. So there's no reason that you would leave me to try to compete with me because you can't be me. Because you can be me in Primerica. You can make more than me, right? You can have bigger ownership than I have, right? So stop and think about that. Get a picture of that in your mind, right? Think about it like this big chain, and some of these people in the chain have big ownership. Some of them have small ownership, right? But everybody's ownership is not affecting anybody else's ownership. What an ingenious system that is. I mean, have you ever heard of a business like that, where you can own and I can own and it doesn't affect each other? What a system, right? And that's where your legacy comes from. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, our best people are still going to be here, and they'll have developed best people who are still going to be there because they have ownership. And they're going to override somebody that has ownership. You think Assad's ever going to quit?
No.
Why?
Why?
He got us. He's got us. Where's he going? He gets $50,000 a month off of us, you all. Right? He's got us. And one day, you will have somebody like that too. And where are you going? And that person locks you in, which locks me in, which locks him in, which locks Leo in, right? And it's a wonderful business that perpetuates on itself. There's nothing like it on earth. It is the most stable, long-range business opportunity that exists anywhere. I've never seen anything like it. You're never going to see anything like it. It just doesn't happen. Right? I had this guy in the other day I've been trying to recruit for a while. He jumps from multi-level deal to multi-level deal. He's all over the place. And I was just frank with him. I'm like, look, dude, how many more times are you going to build it on a sinking ship? The reason you're in this new thing is the old thing didn't work. Right? And the reason you were in that thing is the thing you did before didn't work. And the reason you were in that thing is because the thing before you did that didn't work. Why don't they work? Because they don't have this. Nobody owns, or if they own, there's a few owners, and then there's everybody else. Well, pretty soon, everybody else gets swooned away by the next new thing where somebody's offering some money to come and get part ownership in it. But then they can't offer it to their people. It's double dumb. Why are you going to go and recruit to something you can't offer ownership to? You're just digging yourself in a hole. Sooner or later, they're leaving. If they're any good, they're leaving to go be you. And here, you can go and be me. And so much more. What an opportunity. Art Williams said, if the opportunity wasn't better for the newest new person today than it was when we started, we should shut this down. And it is. You realize last month I was the 45th highest paid guy in the company. I joined 30 years in. How'd that work? Right? Because of unlimited layers of ownership. Apparently I've misspelled the word programming. Okay? The greatest equity program in American business. Okay? A lot of you don't even understand this, so I'll share this with you. Right? As an RVP, you get equity every quarter. Equity in what? In Primerica. Okay? There is no independent contractor sales force on planet Earth that the company gives their independent contractors equity like Primerica gives equity. Nothing. If you're an employee, sometimes you can get equity in their stock programs. I'm talking about independent contractor. You understand, we don't work for Primerica. We work for ourselves as independent contractors to Primerica. So stop and think about this for a second. Okay? So if I'm an RVP and I get somebody life licensed who does 1,000 in production, how much do I get? $250 in stock. This is above my pay. They give me, what? $250,000 in stock. So 4 or 5 years ago, that stock was at $15. Today it's at $56. So that $250 I got 5 years ago is really worth now how much? $800-900? If you count dividends, probably 1,000. They gave me $250, but now it's worth 1,000. Imagine if your company paid you in money that went up. That's what that is. They're paying you in an appreciating asset. They paid you in money that kept giving you more money. How amazing is that? So you're an RVP, you recruit a new guy, you get him licensed, he does his first sale, you're getting $250 in equity. Right? So this is if you're growing year over year. Okay? So that same guy, you get him to district leader, okay, that's $2,500 a month. What are you getting?
400.
Is this total 400 or a new 400? It's a new 400. So now you got somebody to district leader, and how much stock you got so far? $650 in addition to your overrides and bonuses. So money on top of money, right? And this money's going up. So you get them to division, they do $5,000 a month. What are they getting?
500.
Is that new?
Yes.
It's new. Now how much have you gotten? The
$1,150.
$1,150 in addition to all the money you made overriding this guy. Okay? Then you get him to regional, and what are you getting? $1,000. How much you got now? $2,150 in an appreciating asset to recruit somebody and get them to become a regional leader. By the way, how much money did you get paid overriding all that production? I don't know, a lot, some amount, right? Okay. And then you get them to RVP, and that's the big kahuna, right? $15,000 in a stock grant to you. Is that additional? Yes, it's additional. So how much money did you get? $17,100 and something, $150 to get somebody licensed and get them to RVP. By the way, the promoted RVP also gets what? $15,000. So they get $15,000 to go RVP, and next quarter, everything they do this quarter is building up what for them? For stock. So not only are you getting all that money, there's huge pay raise and overrides, bonuses. You're getting paid an appreciating asset just to get people to go through your system. Why do we make you follow the guidelines, by the way, to get promoted? Because it triggers stock. So you get promoted the right way, triggers stock for your RVP. That's a win-win. You haggle with your RVP, you talk him into it, right? And he gives you the promotion, but you didn't hit the numbers. What happens? Nothing. Nothing. You're just evaporating money, right? Okay, that's why we play by the rules.
Is that personal recruiting to you or a whole total base shop?
Everybody. This is not your direct. So I have Ryan. Ryan brings in Phil. Phil brings in Rick. Rick does this. I'm getting stock on Rick. I'm getting stock on all of you. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
That's crazy. You'd cry if I show you how much stock I'm getting this quarter. I thought about putting it in here. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Let's just say it's about 50,000 so far. We got another 10, 12 days left. 50,000, that's 200,000 a year. You know they don't count that in our income, right? Our published income. Between my stock and the amount of money, I already made $1.1 million this year. Isn't that something? But they won't count it. Why? Because there's a vest. There's a vesting period for 3 years of VP. Right? So they won't let you count it because you can't use it for 3 years. You get a 30-year for 3 years. And so I tell them all the time, I'm like, why don't you count the stock, man? You'd have 10 new $1 million earners right now, today, right? Because you paid them $1 million. It just was part stock, right? They don't want to listen to me though. Isn't that something? Isn't that magic? Wait till you see that it gets even more magical. Just like you can override sales, you can override equity. You can override your guy's equity. Watch this. So if you're an RVP and you have an RVP and your RVP gets equity, okay? If you're growing, what are you getting? 20%. So your guy gets 10 grand in stock. So you got all your stock from your promotions and crap.
Right.
And your RVP gets 10 grand in stock. What are you getting?
2,000.
2,000. You're overriding his equity. You override all his sales, but now you're giving him stock and you're overriding the stock.
You override the 15,000 they get?
Yes. Yeah. So as an SNSD, so this is cumulative. So you become an SNSD, 20, 20, 20, and 20 is what?
80.
So he gets 10K, what do I get?
8.
8. I get more stock overriding my RVPs than I get off my own base shop. What do I do for that stock? When you go back to your job tomorrow, you got to be walking around like this all day. They'll be like, what's wrong with you, Sal? I'll meet you at lunch, but you have to hear the greatest thing I've ever heard. The greatest thing I've ever heard. This is what I have to do to override people's stock. Isn't that something? So one day, my RVPs will be getting $200,000 a quarter of stock. And I'll be getting $160,000 overriding their stock. Isn't that crazy? How much stock you give below RVP? Did they give you any stock yet?
No.
I like my job though. I like my job though. The qualifications. What do you need to do to become an RVP? So we have it written out for you here. So you must be Series 63 and 26 licensed. if you want to leave this office. If you do not want to leave this office, you don't have to have a 26, but you will not be able to promote your own RVPs without a Series 26. Okay, so you can be one, but you can't promote them. Okay, you got to be full-time. It means you don't have another job. You're like, what if I have another business? You should stop that business. Do you get to override equity that other people make for you in your business? If no, stop. Okay, because you're wasting your time. Okay, you got to have your own office. We'll let you rent space here. You could rent space out of Troy, I'm sure. John would be happy to sell that you space. Okay, you get your own office if you want. But you got to have your own office. Okay, you must have a minimum of 7 licensed people on your team, including you. Okay, so 7 life licensed people. You must have a minimum rolling 12-month income of $20,000. Okay, this is relatively new. So what was happening is people would run their numbers up over 2 months to go RVP, and then they would immediately go back to where they were. And the company's like, what on earth is this, right? They're paying out all this stock. They basically got a district leader who's signed an RVP contract. So the company says, all right, you got to make 12K or 20K over the last 12 months. Which, if you're doing what you should be doing as an RVP, is just about normal, right? You were there, okay? That's about normal, unless you go really, really quickly, okay? So, there are exceptions for no securities license. We're allowed 4 of them at any given time. We have 2 right now, okay? So, but what you have to do is you have to average 15K in production for 6 months, right? So the company guidelines are what? 20,000 over 2 months, which is 10K a month for 2 months. If you're not securities licensed, these are our hierarchy guidelines. We'll promote you, but you got to average 15K over 6 months. So you haven't taken the test, you took the test a bunch and you failed. There's still a path for you to RVP, but you got to be a little bit bigger. All right, we're just not going to slap promote you because you fogged the mirror with 10K one month. All right, okay? So the whole thing about being Primerica for 3 years, that's negotiable. It depends on how big you are. Again, this is to stop people from just getting lucky a couple of times and running on out as an RVP and then realizing, whoa, I don't like the responsibility of RVP after they get there, which we will talk about.
Persistency and QBI numbers?
Yep, there are persistency and QBI numbers. Generally, those are not problematic for you. Yep.
If you go the second round without a securities license, do you have to get it eventually? Is there a time period where they make you?
Yeah, if you don't get it, you lose all your, you lose the ability to do different things, and I don't know what it is. Yeah, you got to get it eventually.
Is there, like, you got to get it within a year, or you get penalized, or?
Yeah, so they don't give you
the
stock.
money you lose
You
on
don't
the
get
way.
your stock. So let's say you're an RVP that gets promoted without a securities license. They don't give you your 15 grand, and they give you a year to get the license, and then they'll give you the 15 grand.
And if you have licensed people on your team, you don't override
Yeah,
that, right?
if you got securities licensed people on your team, you ain't getting a nickel from what they do. That's going up to the next license upline. Yeah, other questions? Saw a couple of other hands, I thought. Okay. So here's the requirements. We just went through some of them, but I've got some other requirements that I have for my RVPs. Stay plugged into the hierarchy. Okay, you watch an RVP go AWOL and you stop seeing them at meetings, they ain't gonna be an RVP very much longer, y'all, I promise you. There's a reason they hide out from this environment. That's because they be in all sorts of shade, okay? And trust me, there's somebody at compliance with an open case on them right now, I promise, okay? So stay plugged into the hierarchy, okay? Edify the leadership. That's something you see a lot with new RVPs. Like, oh man, I'm the greatest thing that's ever happened. You're an RVP. You got the wrong letter in front of VP for you to know everything. Okay, you ain't an SVP. Okay, you missing a few other letters from SNSD, right? So you're an RVP. You signed a contract to get into the majors, but you still got to prove yourself out there. You're still a rookie. You have joined Primerica. You're not in Prime America anymore, which is what you're in the base shop, okay? So you got to edify the leadership. Stay plugged into your people. Understand they know more than you do. Everything they ever been through, you're going to go through at some point. And one day you're going to ask them for their help, okay? So don't be going and burning your bridges thinking you're hot stuff. because you're not, right? We'll tell you when you're hot stuff, okay? We'll tell you. But until then, just assume you're not, okay? And be humble and coachable, okay? Representing and Primerica well on and off the field. On and off the field. So in our business, it's not like some job somewhere, right? Like everybody's watching you all the time. If you're an RVP, you start acting backcrap crazy, I'm going to tell you, you need to go. I don't care where you go, but you're not going here, right? Okay, and then I'm going to call our OSJ coordinator. I'm going to say, I'm not supervising this guy anymore because he's lost his mind. And then they're going to let you go and walk around and try to get somebody else to take you. And they're going to call me and say, why'd you let this guy go? I'm going to tell them all the things that you do that shouldn't be so. I say, if you want him, he's yours. But this is the laundry list of crap you're going to have to deal with, right? And that just, it's important because how many of you have heard, oh, I knew somebody that was in Primerica and it didn't work out, right? Okay? You're going to be that story that people are going to be telling. And you're going to hurt these people's opportunity to recruit great people because you're a jerk, okay? So we have zero tolerance in this organization for people who are jerks as RVPs. We just don't need you. Go move along. Find someplace else. Good luck in Primerica, but this is not your home, right? Our people respect each other. They respect their leaders, okay? They don't do crazy things. If they do, we deal with it. Okay, does everybody understand that? You all get what I'm saying here? This is good. That protects your opportunity, you all. That protects your opportunity. Why are you going to let some guy do some bad crap, crazy stuff, and they come in here and start looking at you, right? That's not. We just don't let that happen, okay? So you got to represent Primerica well on and off the field, okay? Some of you think you do crazy things in your personal life that don't affect your business life. That's just not true, okay? Write this down. If I become drama, I leave. I have this much tolerance for drama. See it? It's not very big. You all see that? You all see that much tolerance? You come in here with drama, I say you go away. Because you got to leave your baggage at the door, you all. And Art Williams said it. He said it best. You can't, long range, you can't separate your personal life from your business life. You cannot do that. This is not a normal business. This is not a job. RVP is about who you are. It's about being somebody people want to follow. And that doesn't mean being one way with a certain group of people and being a different way somewhere else. Right? You understand that? Okay, a couple other things too. You're an RVP, you try selling some other bull crap, we're going to ask you to leave. Okay? We're going to tell you, move along. Okay? Because there's all sorts of compliance things about that. Right? Okay? If you have a securities license and you're selling who knows what to somebody, and they don't like, so some client says, this guy screwed me over with this deal went bad, okay? And they look at what you were doing, it's some mom and pop rink-a-dink, and then they see Primerica attached to it. Guess which company's getting a lawsuit? Why? Because the attorney's smart and says, hey, this is a multi-billion-dollar firm, we'll just hit them with 50 grand, they ain't even gonna fight it, they're just gonna settle. And you become a giant liability to our company. So you start doing some stuff, right, that ain't what you should be doing, we're just going to pass you along, right? Let somebody else deal with you, but you ain't going to do it here, right? Y'all understand that? This is the greatest dadgum opportunity in the world. What do you need to be selling bullcrap for on the side? You just don't want to do the work to have what you could have here, right? Okay, well, if that's who you are, then RVP is not for you. You might be able to hit the numbers, talent might take you somewhere, but character and integrity keep you in that place. Do you understand that? Okay? So you be doing two things at once. How are you telling somebody this is the greatest opportunity on the planet Earth and you're doing this over here on the side? Those two things don't mesh. Sooner or later, they're going to find you out. They're going to find you out. Okay? So I'm a maniac about this stuff. Not only is it hurtful to you, it's hurtful to a lot of other people. Right? And you are my people, right? I worked really hard to set up what we have here, and I don't take it lightly when people playing around with fire. right? I walk around with dual-handed extinguisher. I'm gonna shoot you in the face with it, right? I'm gonna put you out, okay? I'm gonna put you out. So RVP, again, is about who you are, not about your contract. Folks, there are RVPs in our company that are just district leaders with a title. And they're immature, they're not mature business leaders, they're not doing the right things all the time, they're not representing our company the way it should be represented, okay? So you gotta look at RVP as a privilege. A privilege. It's gonna be like, I hit my numbers, promote me to RVP. We'll promote you, but if you go out with that attitude, you ain't gonna be an RVP real long. Because being an RVP in Primerica is a privilege. You get to represent a company that stands for something. You get an opportunity of a lifetime to override stock and own what you did. That is a privilege. That's not an entitlement, you all. Primerica doesn't owe you anything, right? Okay? You should look at it as a privilege. It's an honor, a duty. I looked at being an RVP in Primerica as a duty. I wanted to be the reason why people joined Primerica, not the reason they ran away from Primerica. Whoa, you should have seen he lost his house, he lost his car, he lost all this. And you've heard those stories from people who don't do what they're supposed to do, who are senior reps with an RVP contract, right? Senior reps with an RVP contract. They bluffed it up, but they weren't the person to back it up. Right? We don't want that here. We want strong RVPs. Right? You understand that? We want people who wear the ring, okay, who have diamonds, who have other RVPs. We want people to look at Primerica and say, that is a place where you can go and you can build a great life. Right? And we can't do that if you're living the nightmare instead of living the dream. And the reason you live the nightmare is because you don't want to be the person that is the RVP. You just want the benefit of the RVP. Right? So when you try to take more benefit than you give, you're a what? You're a thief. That's what you are. Don't rob the opportunity for somebody else. Right? Don't rob the opportunity from yourself. So what's the reward? What is the reward of RVP? The reward of RVP, right? This is a picture of like the last 30 days in our life, right? Some different things except for that up picture, right? Okay, but obviously, Angel House, Bobby Buisan was here, company founder. 2 new RVPs, Aristida and Don. Lisa got her ring, right? There's a bunch of partners hanging out. The event we had at our house, right? This is the last 30 days. The reward of being an RVP is that you live a life of adventure and purpose and significance. You know, we were in Full Timers the other day, and wherever Spencer was, he was talking to Greg about. He said, Greg, thank you for recruiting me. You changed my life. That was a really powerful moment for me. When you become an RVP in Primerica, you take on the responsibility for the dreams of other people, right? And that is an extremely rewarding place to be because you become a dream releaser for people because of what you did and the care that you give them and the vision and the example that you give them, right? So as an RVP, you owe people 2 things, an example and an environment to be a part of. Those are the 2 things you owe people. Everything else they need to go get for themselves. But that's our responsibility. But that's the reward of being able to go and build a great business. It's not just money. The money's great, right? Okay, it's not just the freedom. The freedom's great. But it's living a life that impacts the lives of other people in a positive way. In a positive way. I'm so thankful every day Assad Faraj didn't quit before he found me. What would have happened in my life? Where would you all be? Right? And so that's really the reward of being an RVP is one day you'd be like Bob Buisan and you go to any town in the country and there's hundreds of people that want to come and talk to him and say thank you for what you did. And he gives back to them. And that's a life of significance. See, so life at some point goes from success and achievement to significance and meaning. Right? Does this make sense? At some point, your life will transition from success to significance. If you don't have the success first, you're never really going to have much significance. Everybody's got a story. Most people just don't care about yours yet because you didn't do anything special with it. You have struggles like everybody. You haven't gotten to the end of the story where you overcame the struggle and it became worth hearing about. Right? Does that make sense? And so you got to get the success first, and then you can have a life of significance. But I promise you, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. I sent out to our full-timers the other day, Omar Oropesa sent me a text on Sunday morning on Father's Day. Let me see if I can find it. But basically, yeah, I've got it somewhere. Give me 1 second. And you know, I grew up listening to Omar Oropesa CDs about his kitchen tables recruiting, right? And I'm like, man, maybe one day I'll be able to get to know this guy, or I'll be able to hang with him. And let me find this here. It's around somewhere. Sorry, y'all. I got like 400 things here. There it is. In the last couple days. Yeah. He sent me a text. He says, doesn't it feel great to know we paid a price for our family on Father's Day? I thought, oh, that's nice he's sending a text. But probably a group text to some people he likes or whatever. May God keep blessing you, Ian. Happy Father's Day, my brother. And you look at that, you think, wow, you know, it does feel great to have one for our family on Father's Day, right? I fulfilled my responsibility. What I said I was going to do, when I said I do, to protect and provide for you, I've done that. I followed through on it. So now I can start to live a life of significance where people come and say, hey, help me get to where you are. I want the life that you have. And that is a place of extreme responsibility, but extreme reward. Right? See, listen, when you become a leader, you lose the right to be negative. You lose the right to doubt. You lose the right to talk bad about people. You lose the right to make excuses. All of your rights as an average and ordinary citizen, a resident of average and ordinaryville, have been revoked. You no longer have the right to be any of those things. Tell him I'll call him back. Thanks, buddy. Okay? You gave up that right. You don't own that anymore. And as an RVP, you're all those things. There's no such thing as a negative RVP. If you see a negative RVP, they aren't an RVP. They just got some letters behind their name. Right? You see an RVP that's struggling to do the basic things in the business. That ain't an RVP. That's a guy with an RVP behind his name. But there's a difference. Do you understand that? There's a difference between an RVP and somebody with the letters RVP. I want you guys to be RVPs. I want you to be the pillars in your community. I want you to be people that stand for something. I want you to be people that make and save money, like all the things you tell people to do. Right? I want you guys to be strong, to have a life that's awesome. That's 30 days. You know what's coming in the next 30 days? I'm going to New York City for my anniversary this weekend. I'm going to hang out with Glenn Lee and Bill Whittle in New York City, go to the finest places for anniversary, do a great school there. I'm going to come home, hang out for 4th of July, and then I'm going to go to Miami for the securities trip, hang out with Omar and some other people in the greatest places. And I'm going to come back, right, hang out on the lake all summer. It's going to be awesome. In August, we're going to go to Colorado with our winners and one other person that's still got to qualify, right? Okay. And we're going to celebrate Assad getting to his million, and we're going to be right there. And we're going to knock it out, and we're going to make history. That's like the next 60 days of my life, right? How awesome is that? Right? You play when you want to play, you work when you want to work, you go after worthy goals, you set precedent and expectations so that you guys have something to play against. How awesome is that? Or you go to your job, you just do the same thing every day and the work never stops. Like when I worked at Little Caesars, there's always another pizza. Seriously, there's no end. The phone is never going to stop ringing. There's always going to be another pizza. The pizzas just keep coming. Right? There's no purpose to it. No purpose. I quit, and believe it or not, Little Caesars made it. They survived without me. The people got their pizza. Sometimes it wasn't cut up into 1,000 little squares of anchovy juice hidden under the crust because I didn't like you on the phone. Okay? But maybe you still made it. Okay? They still made it. No production requirements ever. Once you're an RVP, no production requirements ever. Nobody's ever going to call you from the company and say, why aren't you doing more? Nobody's called me yet, George said, Ian, why are you on the lake all day today? I thought you wanted to be $1 million earner. I do. I do want to be, but I have the choice to do what I want, when I want. Nobody's ever going to get on your case about it, right? Total freedom through overrides and ownership. Total freedom. You don't know what that is. If you have a job, you don't know what that is. If you have less than $1 million in cash, you do not know what that is. You think you do, but you just don't. You just don't. Okay? So why don't you get to RVP and start building wealth for a family? Well, I don't need to be wealthy. Yes, you do. You need to be wealthy. Your family needs you to be wealthy. Okay? Because without wealth, there's no freedom on this planet. There's freedom spiritually, but you be in bondage here. Right? Some people so heavenly minded they're no earthly good. Okay? But you can be free here because wealth buys you time. See, people say there's a finite amount of time. That's true, but the wealthy buy their time. The wealthy buy their time, right? I'm looking for an assistant for my wife. What am I doing? I'm buying her time. Saying, hey, I got this money. I'm going to buy your life back. Right? You don't need to be doing this or this or this. I'm going to buy your time to have with your kids or doing things with our partners, building up other people, whatever it is we want to do, right? So you've got to get free. So how do you get there? Right? You got to make a run. Hopefully I've convinced you that RVP is a place worth being, a calling worth pursuing, something special in your life. So you're 6 months away from being a solid RVP. 6 months away. Question is, how bad do you want it? How bad are you willing to get after it? Okay? So you're probably less than 6 months away, but you might not be solid yet. I'm talking solid, 20,000. You go out after replacement, you're still bonusing. You got a full contract, full 130, right? 20K. That's how, if I were you, that's how I would go out. We'll let you out below that, but you're going to be like this for a little while. If that's how you want to be, that's good. We're not going to fight you on it, but you need to have in your mindset, I'm going to go out taking 20,000 with me. So I'm making 10, 12, 14, 15,000 a month out of the gate. Okay? So you got 6 months to go. So you got to sell out. What are you going to do to make this run? Number one is you got to sell out. See, if you're not an RVP, write this down. If I'm not an RVP right now, I've still not yet sold out. There's a piece of you in reserve somewhere. There's a piece of you in reserve somewhere. I don't know if it's the scared little kid. I don't know if it's the fear that you're not going to make it. I don't know what it is, but there's a piece of you that ain't sold out to this yet. And just sell out. Just get it over with. It feels so good. It feels so good to know, like, this is what I'm going to do with my life. You're going to wonder about it anymore. What am I going to do? How's my life going to turn out? You have total peace because you've set your course. Because you've set your course. If you're not an RVP yet, you still haven't sold out. So you get that part of you sold out. What if they talk about you? So what? I'm doing the right thing. What if I struggle for a little while? So what? One day I'm going to be so wealthy it's not even going to matter. I'm not even going to remember that. What if I this? What if I that? One day I'm going to override stock and I'm going to have total ownership and I'm going to build an asset that's going to pay my family forever. What if? So what? Let it go. Here's the real what if. What if you stay where you are now forever? Because you never sell out. That's the what if I would be scared to death of. So when are you going to sell out? Well, I got health insurance. Congratulations. You want a cookie? Right? You can buy health insurance called Write an App. So it's called Write an App. Right? Okay? You got to become about it. I remember one time when I was working at the church, not for money anymore, but I was still on staff there as a layperson. And we were in a college group called The Gathering. And the guy who started it, he did a talk on embodying the vision. And he used me as one of the examples. He said, Ian Prukner is about Primerica. You go and talk to that guy, that's what's coming out of his mouth. Right? And it wasn't a rude thing. He was saying, like, look, that's a person that embodies it. Right? I bet my life on this. I bet my life on this. I raised my kids here. I saw the vision, and I put it all on the line for it. Right? And some of you, too afraid to go talk to somebody about it. You're afraid of what your family member's going to think. I can't do. What if my boss finds out? What if your boss finds out? He should have been your first client. You should be recruiting him the heck out of there too. Right? But are you going to be about it? Are you going to be about it? right? And you got to be ready to walk into your destiny. And I fought this for a little while in the beginning, coming from the ministry. Is this really what God wants for me? Something felt wrong to me to want money and to want to have financial stability for my family, to want to live in a nice house, a nice neighborhood, and drive cars that weren't going to break down all the time, right? And I had to get over that. And I had to be able to look at myself in the mirror and say, God, you put me on this planet Earth to do this, to build people, right? And it wasn't until years later I saw his vision for my life come into focus, right? See, for a period of time, it looked to the outside like I was giving up on those things to chase money, right? But now, with an influence with hundreds of thousands of people, right? Every day somebody's inboxing me talking about the example and why they didn't quit. And we watch what you guys are doing and you give us hope and these sorts of things. And that butterfly effect is all over the place, right? Okay. We've led more agents to Christ through Primerica than I ever did as a worship leader. Because people came here looking for something and they gave me a platform into their life. And hopefully through our example, they said, I don't know about this, but I want to learn about it, right? And, you know, it didn't look that way at the beginning, but I saw it come full circle. And you got to be willing to look in the mirror and say, God, I believe you put me here. I believe you called me to do this. I believe you want me to win and you want me to build something, and I believe you want me to bring you glory through that. And some of you are afraid to say that. You're afraid to just lay it out there and think like, this is what you could have been put here to do, right? But you got to learn to embrace that and be okay with it. I would fight that. For the first couple of years, I fought that. Like, God, I don't know if this is, maybe this is a season of my life, maybe it's some other thing. But as I got more involved with building people, because that's what God's heart is, by the way, right? God's heartbeat is this: people. 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 Not stuff and money. Stuff and money is what people give you in return for helping them get what they want, right? But when I understood the power of an RVP in people's lives, right? My man Josh just quit his job. He's got an opportunity of his lifetime here. For once in his life, he's ready to take it serious. This dude's like at 10 grand so far for the month, his first month full time. He's going to change his life. God's heartbeat for Josh was that Josh wouldn't be average and ordinary anymore. That Josh wouldn't struggle anymore. That Josh wouldn't be in a place of lack and doubt and self-worth. And my goodness, that's part of his plan for Josh. And me getting to where I was a part of his plan. Does this make sense? Mm-hmm. If I wasn't there at the river saying, hey man, I believe in you, I want to give you a shot that nobody else wanted to give you, right? That would have never happened. And see, some of you don't want to think that way yet. But God put you here for a reason. He put you here for a reason. And you might not see it right now, but I promise you it's coming. And it's coming in the form of people whose lives you will change through your example, through your attitude, through your belief in them, sometimes when nobody else will believe in them. And that is a worthy calling. That is a worthy calling. What a way to spend your life. Making the lives of other people better. Making their dreams a possibility instead of a lock away somewhere in some box on some shelf. What an awesome thing to do with your life. Sell out to that. Walk in that. Understand that you're here for a reason. But you got to get there. You got to get there. You got to make it happen. How much longer will you delay your destiny? Go and make that run, you all. Go and make that run. I love you all. I hope you had a good class today.